Welcome back to the deep dive. I have a question for you to start things off today, and I want you to really visualize this. When I say the phrase the oil change, what is the absolute very first image that pops into your head? Don't overthink it, just the knee-jerk reaction.
Oh, a car, for sure.
The car, right.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a garage, the smell of old grease, a mechanic in, like a blue jumpsuit, maybe a calendar on the wall, standard vehicle maintenance, the lift going up.
Exactly. That is exactly where my mind went to. The sounds of pneumatic drill, the whole 9 yards. But,
Yes.
and here is where it gets really interesting. Today we are not talking about cars.
No.
We aren't talking about combustion engines or filters or synthetic blends in the automotive sense. We are looking at a stack of sources that use that exact term, the oil change, to describe something happening inside the human body.
It is a striking metaphor, isn't it? It feels almost, I don't know, industrial for something biological.
It really is. And honestly, when I first saw the title of the source material we are covering today, I did a double take.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I'd picked up a mechanic's manual by mistake. But no, we are diving into a very specific, very complex ophthalmic procedure. We are talking about the human eye.
That's right. Specifically, we are looking at a procedure known as a vitrectomy. But the source material, which comes from a series on restoration and recovery, labels this specific discussion, episode 15, the oil change.
And they mean it.
And what I find fascinating right off the bat is that they aren't using that term lightly. There is a very literal reason for it.
Okay, let's unpack this because I think for a lot of people, eye surgery sounds terrifying and oil change sounds messy.
A little bit of both, yeah.
So our mission today is to break down this vitrectomy protocol. We are going to look at the surgery itself, which they call the deep clean.
Which I love.
I love that, by the way. Sounds very satisfying.
Yeah.
And we are going to look at the recovery, which sounds, honestly, it sounds intense.
Intense is the right word. We have two distinct halves to this deep dive. On one hand, you have the medical mechanics, the biology, and the physics of the surgery.
Right.
And on the other hand, you have the patient experience. The source material is brutally honest about that part. It calls the recovery the hardest part.
And we aren't just talking about a little bit of downtime. We're going to get into details that range from seeing a red fog to the physics of gas bubbles, and eventually, and I promise this will make sense later, why this medical procedure is exactly like retiling a bathroom floor.
It is an analogy that honestly changed the way I visualize eye surgery. It's incredibly grounding.
So let's look at what we have on the table. We are working from excerpts regarding restoration and recovery, specifically focusing on this episode 15. And to help us navigate this, the text introduces us to a central figure.
Right.
A character, if you will, named Engineer Eric.
Right. And bringing in a specific narrative figure like Engineer Eric is a clever rhetorical device by the authors. It anchors all this, high-level medical data in a human experience. But more than that, his profession matters here.
That stood out to me, too. They didn't call him Artist Eric or Teacher Eric. He's an engineer. Why do you think that distinction is important for this story?
Well, think about how an engineer approaches the world. They look for systems.
Cause and effect?
Exactly. They look for cause and effect. They want to know how things work. An engineer doesn't look at a problem and say, oh, that's magic.
Yeah.
They look at it and say, what are the load-bearing constraints? What is the mechanism of failure?
Okay, I see that.
So when you have a patient with that mindset facing a biological failure, it implies a need to understand the mechanics of the fix.
It sets the stage for the very mechanical explanations we see later, the bubbles, the pressure, the physics.
Right.
It changes it from magic to mechanics.
Precisely. And I think it is important to note right at the top, while the surgery, the vitrectomy, is the dramatic climax of the medical intervention, the source makes it very clear that the surgery is just the starting gun.
Just the beginning.
As we will see with Eric, the real work, the heavy lifting, actually happens after he leaves the hospital.
Which is terrifying and empowering at the same time. Okay, let's get into Eric's story. Let's look at the before. The source paints a pretty vivid picture of why Eric needs this surgery in the first place. It says he has a hemorrhage that, quote, just won't clear.
And we need to pause on that word. Hemorrhage. In the context of the eye, we are talking about blood escaping into the vitreous cavity.
Okay, what is the vitreous cavity?
So the eye is an empty space. It's filled with a gel-like substance.
I think this is a misconception a lot of people have. We think of the eye as just a ball of water or maybe air, but it's not, is it?
No, not at all. It's the vitreous humor. It's a thick, clear jelly. It has the consistency of like an egg white or maybe a slightly set gelatin.
Hmm.
It's there to give the eye volume and shape. When you have a hemorrhage there, that blood gets trapped in the gel. It
Oh.
can't just flow away like it would if you cut your finger. It gets suspended.
And the symptom description is, well, it's haunting. The source says he spent 3 months looking through red fog.
Red fog, it is a visceral description, isn't it?
It really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because usually when we think of going blind or losing vision, we think of black.
Right. The lights go out.
We think of the lights going out. But red fog implies something else. It implies that light is getting in, but it's being filtered through blood. It's an obstruction, not just an absence.
Exactly. It creates a sense of claustrophobia.
Right.
You aren't just unable to see, you are actively seeing the debris of your own injury. And the timeline the source mentions is critical here. 3 months.
That is a long time to wait. 3 months is a quarter of a year. That's a season.
It is an eternity in terms of sensory deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine navigating your world, doing your job, trying to read, all while one of your primary inputs is clouded over with this crimson haze.
Why wait that long? That was my immediate question. If I woke up and saw red fog, I'd be at the emergency room in 10 minutes demanding they fix it.
Right.
Why is Eric waiting 3 months?
Well, often in these cases, there is a hope that the body will reabsorb the blood naturally, that the fog will lift on its own.
The body will clean it up.
The body has mechanisms to clean up debris, macrophages, and so on. So you can imagine Eric, our engineer, waiting day after day, testing his vision, hoping the red is a little lighter, a little less dense,
And it's not.
and realizing it's not changing.
The psychological toll of that. Waking up every morning for 90 days and checking, is the fog still there? And the answer being yes. Must be exhausting.
It puts the patient in a very passive state. You are waiting on biology. You are helpless.
You can't do anything.
You can't try harder to clear the blood. You just have to sit there. And this is why the transition to surgery is so significant. The doctor finally says, okay, this isn't clearing. We need a vitrectomy.
It's the turning point.
It is.
It shifts Eric from a passive role waiting for the fog to lift to an active role. We're going to go in and fix it.
And that fix is what the source refers to as the deep clean.
The deep clean. I have to say, as far as medical euphemisms go, that is one of the better ones. It sounds approachable.
It does, yeah.
It sounds like something I do to my carpet once a year, or maybe detailing a car to keep with our oil change theme.
It does demystify it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It takes the fear out of the sterile surgical environment.
Yeah.
But if we look at the definition provided in the source, it is actually quite accurate. A vitrectomy is essentially a cleaning out of the eye's interior.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this deep clean. What exactly are they scrubbing out of there? The source lists 2 specific things.
Right. The first item to go is the cloudy jelly, also known as the vitreous.
Okay, cloudy jelly. Again, great imagery, but slightly gross.
A little bit, yeah.
We talked about the vitreous being clear in a healthy eye.
Correct. In a healthy eye, it's invisible. Light passes right through it to the retina. But in Eric's case, because of the hemorrhage, that jelly has become cloudy. It's full of blood cells, maybe protein clumps, debris. It's no longer a clear window. It's a dirty filter.
So they literally go in and remove the jelly, like take it out of the eye.
They remove it. They take it out.
That is wild to think about. Just scooping out the inside of the eye. I mean, if you take the jelly out, doesn't the eye just deflate like a sad balloon?
That is a great question, and it brings up the incredible technology involved here. They can't just suck it out. As they are removing the vitreous with a microscopic cutter, which is basically a tiny guillotine that oscillates thousands of times a minute.
Whoa.
They are simultaneously infusing a saline solution.
Oh, I see. So it's a swap, a real-time exchange.
Exactly. It's a volume-for-volume exchange in real time.
Mm.
As a microscopic drop of jelly comes out, a microscopic drop of salt water goes in.
So the pressure never changes.
The pressure in the eye remains constant. The eye never deflates.
So they're flushing the system.
Essentially, yes. They are washing the windows from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But the source mentions a second thing they remove, and this is where it gets more structural.
Okay.
They also remove scar tissue.
Right. Where does the scar tissue come from? Eric had a bleed, not a cut on his skin.
This connects back to the hemorrhage and the underlying condition. When you have damage or bleeding or inflammation in the eye, the body tries to heal itself.
Uh-huh.
But the eye's version of a scab is scar tissue.
Ah.
And in the vitreous, that scar tissue forms strands.
Strands. Like spider webs.
Exactly. Tough, fibrous strands. And here is the danger. Those strands anchor themselves to the retina, the delicate wallpaper at the back of the eye, and they start to pull.
Oh, that's not good.
It's very not good. It's like having tiny ropes pulling on wet tissue paper.
Ah, so it's not just about clearing the view, it's about structure. It's about preventing more damage.
Precisely. If that scar tissue contracts, it pulls the retina right off the wall. That's a retinal detachment. That's permanent blindness if not fixed.
So the deep clean isn't just washing the windows, it's removing the debris that is physically threatening the structure of the eye.
Yes, they are clearing out the red fog and the physical entanglements causing it.
It sounds incredibly delicate.
It is microsurgery at its peak. I mean, you have surgeons using tools that are thinner than a human hair.
Wow.
They are peeling membranes that are fractions of a millimeter thick off of nerve tissue that has the consistency of wet tissue paper.
That gives me shivers just thinking about it. But okay, so Eric goes in, they do the deep clean, they vacuum out the cloudy jelly and the scar tissue, they've swapped the dirty fluid for clean saline. The source says Eric wakes up from surgery with a patch on his eye.
And this is the moment of false security.
Right. In most medical narratives, this is the end. The hero wakes up, the surgery was a success, roll credits. But the source material throws a huge curveball here.
A huge one.
It says, and I quote, "The next week is the hardest part."
This is where the protocol really kicks in. The surgery is just the setup. The recovery is the execution.
Let's talk about the mechanics of this recovery, because this is where that oil change title starts to make sense. We just established that they removed the jelly from the eye.
Yep.
Gone.
So the eye is a sphere. It needs to be full of something. You mentioned saline during the surgery. Yes. During the surgery, they use saline to keep the pressure up. But saline is just water. It's passive. It sloshes around. It doesn't push.
It doesn't push. Why do we need it to push?
Because the retina needs to heal. Remember, we just peeled scar tissue off it. It might be loose. It might have tiny holes. It needs to be smoothed out and held flat against the back wall of the eye so it can re-adhere.
Okay, so you need internal pressure, like a press.
Correct. You need a tamponade. That's the medical term. You need something to fill the space and exert gentle, constant pressure against the wall of the eye.
And the source gives us the answer, a gas or oil bubble.
There is the oil change, or in some cases, a gas change.
I have so many questions about the physics of this. So they inject a bubble into the eye, a literal bubble.
A literal bubble. Depending on the type of gas, it can expand to fill the whole cavity.
And the source says its function is to hold the retina flat while it heals.
Think of it as a temporary internal cast, or a splint.
Oh.
If you break your arm, you put a cast on the outside to hold the bone still. But you can't put a cast on the inside of an eyeball.
No, definitely not.
You can't reach in with your finger and hold the retina against the wall.
So you use physics instead.
So the surgeon uses a bubble. The bubble fills the space. Because of surface tension and volume, it exerts that gentle pressure we need. It presses the wallpaper back against the wall.
It holds the retina flat. And this brings us to the fragility implied in the source.
Yeah.
The retina doesn't just stay put on its own after this kind of trauma.
No.
It needs active, constant pressure to readhere.
Active pressure. And this is where the difference between gas and oil comes in, which the source alludes to. A gas bubble is temporary. The body absorbs it over a few weeks. It's like a biodegradable splint.
It just disappears on its own.
Exactly. Your body just slowly replaces it with its own natural fluid.
And the oil.
Silicone oil. It's permanent, or at least it stays until the doctor takes it out in another surgery. They use oil for the really complex cases where the retina needs to be held down for months. That's the true oil change.
Wow. Okay, so you've got this active pressure system inside your eye. This brings us to my favorite part of this entire text.
I know where you're going.
The source material uses an analogy here that is just chef's kiss. It compares this high-tech microscopic eye surgery to retiling a floor.
I love this analogy because it takes something biological and invisible because you can't see inside your own eye and translates it into a very practical home improvement project.
Totally.
It's something engineer Eric would appreciate.
So let's map this out. The source says, think of retiling a floor. After you lay the tiles, you have to put a heavy weight on them to make sure they stick while the glue dries.
It's perfect. In this scenario, the tiles are the retina.
Right. The photosensitive layer at the back. The part that actually sees.
The glue is the natural healing process of the body, the biological adhesion. Or sometimes the surgeon uses a laser to create a weld, which creates a scar that acts as glue.
Okay. So we have tiles and glue. The delicate parts.
And the heavyweight, that's the gas bubble.
It makes it so clear. When you lay a tile, particularly if the floor isn't perfectly level or if the tile is a bit warped, if you just drop it on the glue and walk away, What happens?
It might shift. It might pop up a little at the corner. The bond won't be even.
Especially if the surface is curved or vertical, you need something pressing it down until that glue sets.
Mm.
If you take the weight off too early, the tile lifts and the repair
And the
fails.
source mentions drying time while the glue dries.
That's the critical variable. We are in a wet environment, the eye. Things don't dry in the traditional sense.
Oh, drying here is a metaphor for the cells bonding back together. That takes time.
How much time?
Usually about a week for the initial bond to be strong enough. And during that time, the pressure must be constant. You can't put the weight on for an hour, take it off, then put it back. The tile will have already lifted.
So we have the deep clean, which is the surgery. We have the retiling, which is the repair. We have the heavy weight, which is the bubble. Now we get to the part that explains why the source calls the next week the hardest part.
The positioning?
The source says the requirement is face down 204/7.
24/7.
I want to pause on that because when I first read it, I thought, okay, sleep on your stomach. But it doesn't say sleep face down.
No.
It implies living face down.
It means exactly what it says. Eating, listening to audiobooks, sitting, sleeping. For the vast majority of every hour, usually 50 to 55 minutes of every hour, your nose needs to be pointing at the floor.
Why? I mean, I know we talked about the bubble, but walk me through the physics here. Why does the direction of my face matter to a bubble inside my eye? Can't the bubble just do its job regardless of where I'm looking?
It comes down to two simple facts of physics mentioned in the source. Fact 1. The bubble floats up.
Because it's gas or oil and it's lighter than the fluid in the eye. Buoyancy.
Exactly. Archimedes' principle.
Mhm.
It always seeks the highest point. That is an immutable law of physics.
Okay.
Fact 2. The retina, the part we are trying to fix, is at the back of the eye.
Okay, I'm visualizing this. I'm imagining the eye as a hollow ball.
So imagine the eye as a hollow ball. The damage is on the back wall of the ball. You put a bubble in the ball.
Mhm.
If you stand upright, like we are doing now, and look straight ahead, where does the bubble go?
It floats to the top of the ball, the ceiling of the eye.
Correct. It floats to the ceiling. Is the damage on the ceiling?
You know, the damage is on the back wall.
So the bubble is pressing against the wrong spot.
Oh.
It's pressing against healthy tissue at the top of the eye. It is useless. It's not holding the tiles down. It's essentially weighting the ceiling when the loose tiles are on the floor.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So by looking down,
By tipping your head forward, so your face is parallel to the floor, you rotate the back of the eye so it becomes the top or the ceiling.
you are flipping the room upside down.
Precisely. You're using gravity and buoyancy as medical tools. When you look down, the back of the eye becomes the highest point in that sphere. The bubble floats up, and boom, it presses directly against the retina.
That is incredibly cool and incredibly inconvenient.
It's a logistical nightmare for the patient, but a masterpiece of physics. It's geometry.
So if you look up to watch TV,
The bubble floats away from the injury. The weight is taken off the tiles.
and if the weight is off the tiles before the glue drive,
The repair fails. The retina pulls away again. Back to square one.
so you could go through that whole surgery.
And undo it all by watching a movie.
Wow. That raises the stakes significantly. It's not just rest and relax. It's maintain the specific geometric orientation or else.
That is why the source emphasizes it so heavily. Face down, 247. It's a prescription, not a suggestion. It is as important as the surgery itself.
Which brings us to the actionable takeaways. Because if you have to be face down for a week, you can't just wing it.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I'll figure it out. The source gives some very specific advice here.
Rent a massage chair or special face-down pillow.
Again, very practical advice.
Yeah.
But let's clarify, when we say massage chair, we aren't talking about a recliner with a vibration function.
No, we are talking about those specific ergonomic chairs you see in a massage therapist office.
Yeah.
You know, the ones where you kneel, your chest rests on a pad, and your face goes into a donut-shaped cradle.
Right, so your face is supported, but you can still breathe.
It is. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to frame this correctly. When we hear massage chair, we think of luxury. We think of a spa day. We think of Enya playing in the background.
Yeah, that's not this.
But in this context, the source isn't suggesting a spa day.
No, it's an operational necessity. It sounds like survival gear.
Think about the mechanics of the human neck. Your head weighs, what, 10 or 11 pounds?
Something like that, like a bowling ball.
Trying to hold that bowling ball suspended, face down, using only your neck muscles for 24 hours. For a week.
Impossible.
It's impossible. You would be in agony. Your trapezius muscles would lock up. You would have spasms.
And what happens when you're in pain? You move. You shift. You try to get comfortable.
And that shifting is the enemy.
Right. The source has this great quote: comfort during the recovery week is crucial for success.
That is such a key insight. Usually we think of comfort as a bonus. I hope you are comfortable. But here, comfort is linked directly to surgical compliance.
Let's connect that back to the retiling analogy.
Okay, if you are in pain, you move. If you are stiff, you stretch. If you can't breathe easily, you turn your head.
And every time you do that,
Every time you do that, you are potentially shifting the bubble off the retina. You are taking the weight off the wet glue.
so the massage chair isn't about feeling good. It's about creating a stable rig for your body so you can freeze in place.
Exactly. It supports the structure so the patient can endure the position. If you are supported, you don't move. If you don't move, the bubble stays in place. If the bubble stays in place, the retina heals.
It's a chain reaction. Comfort leads to stillness. Stillness leads to pressure. Pressure leads to healing.
It really redefines the patient's role.
Hmm.
Engineer Eric isn't just lying there waiting to get better. He is actively maintaining the medical device, the bubble, in the correct position through his own physical discipline.
I love that perspective. It makes the patient a partner in the procedure,
A crucial partner.
a crucial partner. The surgeon can do everything right, but if Eric looks up to check his email too many times, it's all for nothing.
They absolutely are. The surgeon places the bubble, but the patient is the one who keeps it there. The surgeon starts the process, the patient finishes it.
And the source also mentions the mental aspect of this. Boredom.
Isolation.
Oh, hugely.
Staring at the floor for a week.
You are cut off from the world. You can't watch TV. You can't look at your phone easily unless you put it on the floor. Right, you're just looking at your carpet fibers or your tile grout.
For 168 hours.
It requires a lot of preparation. Downloading audiobooks. Podcasts like this one are a lifesaver.
It forces you to live in an auditory world for a week. Your entire sensory input shifts.
So let's zoom out and look at the whole picture we've painted here. We started with the red fog.
The symptom, the chaos, the inability to see clearly, the psychological weight of the obstruction,
We moved to the deep clean.
the intervention, the high-tech vacuuming, removing the cloudy jelly in the scar tissue, clearing the debris to save the structure,
Then we had the oil change.
the mechanic, inserting the bubble to act as a splint, the fluid swap,
And finally, the retiling.
the recovery, the discipline of staying face down to let the physics do its work, the hardest part.
It is such a complete narrative arc. And thinking about Engineer Eric, I can see why this approach works for that personality type.
Right.
It's not just do this because I said so. It's do this because buoyancy works this way.
And for anyone facing a complex problem, understanding the mechanism of the solution is often the key to sticking with it. If Eric knows why he has to stare at the floor, because he's visualizing that bubble floating up against the tiles, he's much more likely to do it.
It's motivating.
He isn't just following orders, he is operating a system.
It gives purpose to the suffering. It gives purpose to the boredom of staring at the carpet for a week. I am not just lying here. I am applying pressure to the retina.
Exactly. It turns passive waiting into active healing.
So what does this all mean for us? Even if we aren't facing eye surgery, which fingers crossed we aren't, there is something really powerful in this protocol.
I think the biggest takeaway is the relationship between preparation and recovery. We often focus on the big event, the surgery, the launch, the big presentation.
The climax.
That's the deep clean. We put all our energy into that moment. But the success of that event is actually determined by what happens in the quiet, boring, uncomfortable week that follows.
The drying time.
The drying time. We live in a world that wants instant results. We want to lay the tile and walk on it immediately. But biology and physics doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Sometimes you just have to hold the position and wait for the glue to dry. You can't rush the biology.
And you have to set yourself up to succeed in that waiting. You have to rent the chair, so to speak.
That's it.
You have to create the conditions where you can endure the recovery.
That's it. Don't rely on willpower alone. Rely on structure. Rely on the pillow. Give yourself the support you need to do the hard, quiet work of healing. If you know you have a hard task coming up, prep the environment.
That is a fantastic insight. It's not about being tough. It's about being smart about your recovery.
Precisely. It's about engineering your success.
You know, before we wrap up, I'm still thinking about that bubble. It's such a simple thing, a pocket of gas. But it does what the surgeon's hands can't do. It's there, 24/7, applying that gentle, constant pressure.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most effective tools are the simplest ones. Gravity, buoyancy, time. We have all this high-tech equipment, Lasers, microscopes, vitrectors cutting at 5,000 cuts per minute.
Right, all this complexity.
But in the end, the cure relies on a bubble floating up.
Nature doing the heavy lifting.
Nature doing the heavy lifting, provided we align ourselves correctly with it.
Align ourselves correctly. That is the key. Face down. Eyes on the prize, or in this case, eyes on the floor.
No size. Eyes on the floor, indeed.
It's a fascinating look into a world I knew nothing about. Who knew the oil change could be so profound?
It's a testament to the incredible engineering of the human body and the ingenuity we use to fix it when it breaks. It combines biology, physics, and sheer human endurance.
Well, I certainly won't look at a tile floor the same way again, or a bubble level for that matter.
Neither will I. Every time I see a spirit level, I'll think of Eric.
As we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on. We spent a lot of time talking about the surgeon's skill and the patient's endurance. We talked about Eric holding that pose. But think about this. In this protocol, the surgery, the cutting, the removing, the skilled intervention, that was just the preparation. That was just clearing the site. The actual healing, the reattaching of the retina, the gluing of the tiles, that happened when the doctor wasn't even in the room.
Yeah.
It happened because the patient committed to a posture. It redefines the whole concept of a cure. We often go to experts expecting them to fix us, but in the vitrectomy protocol, the expert just hands you the bubble and says, okay, now you have to do the work. You have to use gravity to glue yourself back together. It shifts the power and the responsibility squarely back onto the person in recovery.
The patient becomes the primary healer.
Something to think about the next time you're waiting for something to heal. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.